America Viva! On the road, talking about lived history, remarkable places, and real life.
Hello, my name is Tom Noga. I am a reporter, filmmaker, explorer. In this podcast, I talk about traveling, or I talk with a special guest about life, culture, and the world. Sometimes far away, sometimes right on our doorstep. This podcast is about Ecuador, more precisely about the southern coast of the country. For many people, Ecuador immediately brings to mind the Galapagos Islands and their extraordinary biodiversity. Others think of the capital, Quito, with its colonial architecture. And of course the Andes, especially the so-called Avenue of the Volcanoes. On the Altiplano, a high plateau stretching over 450 kilometers, more than a dozen volcanoes line up one after another. But this podcast is about Ecuador's coast, about a place off the beaten track, and about a very specific subject, the Panama hat. The Panama hat? It comes from Panama, right? The name seems to say it all, but it doesn't. Originally, the Panama hat comes from Ecuador, from Monte Cristi, a small town in the coastal mountain range. Only there does a special type of straw grow, known as paja toquilla, which has traditionally been used to weave these hats by hand. That is why, in Ecuador, they are called sombrero de paja toquilla. So why does the rest of the world call them Panama hats? No one knows for sure. One theory suggests that in the late 19th and early 20th century, the hats were shipped via Panama, and people in Europe and the United States assumed they were made there. Another theory traces the name back to President Theodore Roosevelt, who famously wore such a hat at the inauguration of the Panama Canal. Back to Monte Cristi. The town sits on a hillside, which is where its name comes from, the Mountain of Christ. Around the central square, Plaza Eloy Alfaro, you'll find one hat shop after another. That's where I began my research. I wanted to understand how the sombrero de paja toquilla is made, to follow the entire production chain from start to finish. The first surprise, most hats today are not woven by hand at all. They are produced industrially as mass products in Cuenca, high up in the Andes. These are the hats you can buy for $20 to $50. Only the top two quality grades, finos and super finos, are still woven according to traditional craftsmanship by just a handful of true masters. I visited one of them in a mountain village and watched him work. I was amazed by how fast and how precisely he wove. Later, I traveled up into the coastal mountain range with straw farmers and joined them in harvesting paja toquilla. A real adventure. We rode up on the back of a truck in light drizzle, typical weather for cloud forests. The constant moisture, I was told, is what gives the straw its elasticity. The work is not without danger. We cut the straw on steep slopes, on extremely slippery ground, using our bare hands, moving very carefully, because venomous snakes hide in the undergrowth. It happens fairly often that someone gets bitten. Don't worry, they assured me. We carry anti-venom. That didn't really calm me down. Back in the valley, I helped the farmers beat and sort the straw, separating the good stalks from the bad ones. It was boiled several times, then the fibers were pulled and laid out to dry. Hard work and very time-consuming. Before this trip, I had wondered why Finos hats cost several $100s and Super Finos several thousand. Now I understand. Only the finest fibers are used for Super Finos, and they are woven extremely tightly. That's why they last a lifetime. You can fold them, put them in a suitcase, and when you take them out, they spring right back into shape. Want to experience this adventure yourself? No problem. Just ask in the shops in Monte Cristi. They can put you in touch with a weaver. The straw farmers are organized in cooperatives, for example in the village of Barcelona. You can ask there as well. You should speak Spanish though. And if you're already in the area, here are a few more tips on what to see and do. Personally, I really like Montañita, a super relaxed surf town. Wooden huts right on the beach, and a reef break, which means very consistent waves. A real place off the beaten track is Isla de la Plata. It's often called the Galapagos in miniature. You can visit it on a day trip, much cheaper than the Galapagos and far more individual. I also love Las Peñas, the old fisherman's quarter in Guayaquil, with its colorful wooden houses and excellent seafood restaurants. Guayaquil doesn't have the best reputation because cocaine is shipped through the port and various gangs fight over the business, sometimes with firearms. As a traveler, though, you don't really notice any of this. I always felt safe in Guayaquil. You should avoid the slums, however. And what else? Quito, of course, is a must. The Avenue of the Volcanoes. Spectacular, and still relatively unknown. And the Amazon region in Ecuador. Yes, you heard that right. One of the source rivers of the Amazon originates in Ecuador, the Rio Napo. The advantage of Ecuador is that you can get there quickly and easily, unlike in Brazil, Colombia, or Peru. I'll talk more about that in a future podcast. Stay tuned. Thank you for listening. You'll find links to my other podcasts and to the story about the Sombrero de Paja Turquía, as usual, in the description. Ciao, your Tom Noga.